It has the looks, but does it have the skills? This is the 2022 Ford Explorer Timberline Edition, and we're going to test it right now on Driving Sports TV. Just to look at this, you would think, hey, this thing is ready for off-road adventure. It has orange recovery hooks. The tires, all terrains. Underbody protection, yep, it's got that too. So does this have what you actually need when going off-road? We're gonna find out a little later in this video. One thing I really like is that all these features are standard. You don't need to add a bunch of options. As you see it here, you're looking at $47,425 US, including destination. Under the hood is a 4-cylinder turbocharged engine that puts out 300 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque. It is connected through a 10-speed automatic transmission, and it powers all 4 wheels through an advanced all-wheel drive system. In the back, we get a tow hitch receiver. This is a 2-inch, and you also have plugs. As equipped, this can tow up to 5,300 pounds. And easy push-button gate. Right here, we only have 18.2 cubic feet of total capacity. With all the seats folded flat, you're looking at a total capacity of 87.8 cubic feet, which puts it kind of near the top of the class. Now, granted, the Honda Pilot does have more space, but Honda is a master of packaging, and I think you'll probably agree this one just looks a lot better. Can you nap in it? Ah. Yeah, totally. Okay, let's do full length. 6'1". Yeah, no problem, even lengthwise. Okay, let's see if an adult can fit all the way in the back. So this is, of course, a mid-size SUV, and as such, the third row is really not for adults, but let's just see how this looks. You know, if this seat is pushed forward and it is on sliders, I have plenty of room for my knees. Now, the cushion is not very comfortable, but I do have headroom. I get my own cup holder. Yeah, this is doable. I mean, it's not great, but it's certainly doable. Okay, now that I got out of there, let's put the seat back into its normal position. All right, captain's chairs are standard. This feels pretty good. I get my own cup holder. I have an armrest, I get a vent, I get a light, I even get a hook. Down here is a very large bin to basically put multiple devices and more cups. Get another cubby here, both USB-A and USB-C, in addition to a 12-volt. I also get seat warmers and my own aircon. Lots of headroom, lots of legroom. You can slide forward, back. So if this seat is all the way forward, it's a little snug on the driver's side because this is where I would be sitting. I'm 6'1", legs, torso proportionate. And this is actually pretty good, and that leaves a little bit of extra room for the sucker that needs to be in the back. Okay, now let's see what it's like up front. Now, the funny thing that I notice immediately is that the gauge cluster and the infotainment are straight out of my Maverick. I swear that's the same screen, but that's not a bad thing. I actually like this setup, and I think it works really well here. Although this looks a little on the small side, but I'm actually okay with a smaller display if it has the functionality that I want. Right here we have a steering wheel wrapped in leather. You will note that it has this orange stitching, which is also in the door panels and in the armrest, and of course it's accented on the outside of the vehicle as well. That's kind of the highlight for this Timberline trim. The seat also has a Timberline logo right in the middle of my back. And in introducing the Timberline, they really wanted to make something that was a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more off-roady looking, but without giving up what makes the Explorer so popular, because this is a very easy vehicle to drive every single day. It doesn't rely on a transfer case to go from 2 to 4. You don't have to think about that. All you need to think about are these drive mode settings if you really want to think about anything. But as we've seen in the past, sometimes the Ford drive modes are smart enough to kind of figure it out as you go anyway. You don't always have to mess with that, but it does give you an option if you want. So this design is kind of cool. There's very little piano black. I mean, it's a little bit around the surround. There's a little bit here, but it's really, really kept to a minimum. And the nice thing with that is I don't think this is going to scratch all that badly. I think over time, it's going to continue to look good. I like these metal accents. I love this metallic trim. I don't even mind the rotary knob for dealing with the transmission. That's all okay. The plastics could be a little bit higher quality. That seems a little cheap. This little piece here seems a little cheap, but I think the effect is a good one. Plus you have all these little bins, which are really handy. This right here is one of the dumbest bin design covers I've seen in a car. Why do I have a big flap here? Have they not heard of roll in or pull out or something? I mean, ugh. I hate that. What if I could just take that out? It doesn't look like it. I would kind of actually prefer just for this to be open. I don't want that there. Okay, getting past that, above it we have dual aircon. I have a heated steering wheel button as well as 3 stages of heat. I have physical dials for tuning and volume. This includes Sync 3, which is actually the older design because really the bones of this vehicle are a few years old, so it doesn't get the all-new system that you see in vehicles like the Mach-E. You of course have apps, navigation. Let's see navigation. Let's try a voice pilot nav. Find Victor's Coffee.
Please say the name of the POI you're looking for again. If you would like directions to a street address, say find an address.
Victor's Coffee.
Please say a line number or say.
There we go.
Please say a line number or say. When ready, press the voice button.
I'd say that works pretty good.
Obey traffic laws, be alert, and use voice commands while driving.
It's not exciting, but it definitely will do the trick. It is a little on the small side. Actually, running navigation, I am now starting to think that maybe this display is a little bit too small. An extra couple inches, like if we ran all the way out to the edge of the bezel, that would be right there. We have phone integration and of course audio, XM satellite radio integrated, as well as Bluetooth stereo, AM, FM, all that stuff. This does support Apple CarPlay, and then I can run it out of that little hole right there. Anyway, Apple CarPlay, go ahead and hit continue, agree, skip this step, unlock, allow, and there we have wired CarPlay, which looks nice. Again, it's starting to look a little bit small now. I think I've been in too many of those Toyotas with the big 14-inch display, which is absurd. I mean, that is absurdly big. This is a little small for modern situations, but it's usable. This, honestly, being a little on the small side, would not prevent me from picking one of these vehicles. Because we have the rotary knob down here, there's no way to shift gears. We can do it up here on the steering wheel. We also get a variety of drive modes. Turn the toggle here. We got a tow mode, sport mode, eco, normal, slippery, which is like for ice and snow, trail, and deep snow sand. We will try these systems out later, and I'll explain what they do at that time. While we're looking up here, the gauge cluster is really nice. I like that screen in the back, along with the traditional tach and speedo. And then I can easily pick a whole bunch of different options. I actually have proper measurements of the PSI of my tires. This is an active sensor system, not a passive, which means that I know what the exact PSI is on each tire. Some systems, basically, you just reset and it uses ABS to determine that. It'll just tell you if it's low or not. I can see my MPGs. Overall, Nice setup here. I actually really like this. There's no sunroof, but I don't care. Especially when you're looking at this thing, it's under 50 grand. Now this is loaded with all of the active stuff that you would expect in a modern vehicle. You have adaptive cruise control with lane centering. I want to point that out. So you can either do lane keeping mode. You can switch between aid or alert and aid. We'll turn those both on. It'll also keep you centered if you option it on the button over here. Now it has pre-collision assist, which will automatically put the brakes on if it detects an imminent crash. Speed and side recognition, it'll just give an indication, and it'll give me a warning too if I'm over my speed limit. Rear view camera, blind spot ID, trailer blind spot, handy if you're towing, trailer sway control, parking aids, and rear cross traffic alerts. Really, this has pretty much everything that you would expect in a modern vehicle. I should also point out, if we go into reverse, we get a backup camera as well as a full satellite view. That is great. Of course, today we're going to take this up to the mountains because it's called a Timberline and has all-terrain tires. Why wouldn't we use those? Along the way, we're going to hit the freeway so we can try out some of the adaptive cruise control stuff. And then we are going to see how well this all-wheel drive system handles the rough stuff. So let's buckle up and head on out. Let's see how this thing handles twisty road. So one of the advantages of getting something like an Explorer versus a 4Runner is that the 4Runner really is oriented towards more off-road adventures. This one is definitely more well-suited for day-to-day, as in it has more power, it has a tighter suspension, and it just... there's no dual range. It's just not designed for extreme conditions. So it's interesting that they would come up with a Timberline version of this vehicle that is targeting more off-road, yet there's no low range. However, they compensate for that with a number of drive modes. Driving in normal, it's nice. It does what you expect. You lay on the throttle, you get a little power, that's all good. Roll is very well controlled. I really like the suspension actually. Some people may say it's a little on the stiff side. I disagree. I think it's perfectly fine for this type of vehicle. I like this springing. I like the body control. The steering, it's a little on the vague side, but it's nothing that I would complain about. I actually really enjoy driving this on pavement. I enjoy driving this more than the 4Runner on asphalt. And I love the power. I mean, you could get an Explorer with like 400 horsepower now. This one isn't quite as potent because it's a 2.3 liter turbo and it puts out 300 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque, which honestly, for a vehicle of this size and use case, it's totally fine. We've ripped through there in normal mode, so let's switch it over to sport. Let's floor it and see what we got. Throttle response is quicker. Steering is much tighter. And the sound they're piping into the cabin is more aggressive. I'm sure it just sounds like a normal Explorer on the outside, but it sounds really great on the inside. Oh, yeah. Now, of course, the shocks don't adjust because they are a fixed rate damper. But that's okay. I think actually the springing and the dampening on this thing are quite good. I really enjoy driving this vehicle. There are a couple things I would change, however. It needs more ground clearance. 8.7 just isn't enough for a special edition like this. It really needs to be over 9 inches. And I say that because the Subaru Outback Wilderness has more than 9 inches, and that's kind of the new hallmark for mainstream off-roadable crossovers. As I mentioned before, this does not have a dual range gearbox. What Ford does instead is lean heavily on the software programming with their drive modes. And we're gonna pull off into this gravel road here to try out the trail mode and see what does that do. So what you want in a trail mode is the ability to easily control your throttle. So we're gonna go down this little dirt road here and see how trail mode functions, whether or not we can easily control that throttle. It's not about gunning it. We can gun it. We'll gun it later. But for right now, I want to see what this drive mode does. So let's switch it over to trail. And let's see what it does to slow down our drive modes. Okay, so I am rolling just like a normal automatic transmission. It's not going to prevent that. See, does normal? Yeah, normal does the same thing. Okay, so we're switching into trail, to taking my foot off, and we're still moving forward, which I'm kind of surprised with. I would think that trail would stop from the automatic transmission creep forward situation. Okay, I'm in the mud and I just want to move very slowly. So trail mode should dumb down my throttle to the point where I can just barely crawl. Oh, man, it's not much of a crawl ratio. It seems like I can only go quick. I mean, it can do what it can do. This is kind of where a crawl function or a reduction gear would really be useful. Yeah, there's like no way to drive at 1 mile per hour in this car. That could be a problem off-road because there's times where you just want the very small amount of creep. And if all your car wants to do is just run all the time, you're going to end up spinning wheels and getting stuck. Let's reverse this. Try going back the other way. I do like the surround view camera, although the quality of the picture could be better. Okay, now going back the other way. So I'm just trying to crawl slowly here, as though we're in a really difficult situation, which we clearly are not. So can I want to see if I can like move without slipping the wheels at all. It wants to do 3 miles an hour at a minimum. Okay, so trail is going to be an issue potentially when we get into tricky stuff a little bit later. So the next question is, how is power distributed around the system? For that, we're going to go over to this gravel patch here, and I'm going to try out 2 of the drive modes. First, we're going to try normal and see what that does. That did a pretty good job. We saw power shift as necessary. But now let's see what it does in the most extreme setting, which is deep snow and sand. And that is designed to have wheel spin, which not only churns through what you're trying to get through, but it also cleans the tire by flinging the mud and sand off the tire, which then exposes the grooves, which then help you with grip. So you want to have wheel spin. So we're in that mode and go. Wow! Okay, that's going to be fun.
The Ford Explorer is a rear-biased system. That is, it sends power to the back wheels first, then shifts power to the front through a multi-plate clutch, almost instantaneously. This is further enhanced with individual wheel braking and a Trick LSD in the back. It's this setup that makes the Explorer so much fun in light dirt situations. Now we're going to head into the mountains, which means that first, we have to hit the highway.
Okay, let's power it on. Oh, okay, it's not super fast, but it is fast enough for this category of vehicle. I mean, keep in mind, this is targeting family buyers, people who need to bring their kids to soccer practice. Do you need 300 horsepower? Well, no. Is it awesome? Yes. Under the hood is, of course, the 2.3 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, and it's putting out 300 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque, which, you know, it's kind of fun to have, especially coming from the 4Runner, which, though it has lots of great things going for it, speed wasn't one of them. Now on the freeway, this is where we will be testing the adaptive cruise control, and this does have it along with lane centering. I'm going to go ahead and turn that on, hit set, and boom, it's now detecting the lanes for me. It's going to steer back into the lane. Let's see how well it does this turn. Oh yeah. Now you're not supposed to do this hands-free. It is a level 2 system, which means you immediately have to be in control. But on long distance trips, it does reduce fatigue, which is the important thing. By the way, I have seat warmers on right now. I'm on stage 2 out of 3, and this thing is baking my nethers. It is very hot. This is probably one of the hottest seat warmers I've ever used. And it's actually really nice because if you're wearing like jeans or a big jacket, you can feel that heat through it. Some vehicles just these days, they have seat warmers, but they're not great. Now you have seat warmers in the back there, don't you, Nick?
Yeah, I turn them off because they're too hot.
Yeah, they're hot back there too, huh?
Yeah.
How's the seating in the second row?
I like the captain's chairs, and I've always been a fan of the captain's chairs, but I do have to say the back seats aren't the best. They're very, very flat, kind of short on like the leg side. I mean, I have pretty long legs, but I think just in general, they cut off like right at the half of my like hamstring. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It kind of feels like I'm sitting on top of like a stool. Other than that, they're not terrible. I like the material. I just think they could have put a little more bolstering and like a little more like recline on them.
That makes sense. Now, you know, my oldest is a teenager, and she liked the seats in the back.
Yeah.
But, you know, kids, they're shorter.
Yeah, I like the storage. It's definitely, like, I would say more kid-oriented, meaning, like, it's pretty, like, durable plastic, rubber floor mats, lots of storage. I have a cup holder right here by the door handle. I can just put my phone here. Backpack fits in the center. And then this has a third row, right? Yep. If you have the third row up, it's easy to get through. And no, that's nice. Lots of cup holders.
Yeah, lots of cup holders and cubbies too. They definitely did not short you on the cubbies.
Yeah, no, it's good.
Well, today we're not going to be worried too much about the cubbies because we are heading on an off-road adventure into the mountains of the Cascades. This is just kind of near Snoqualmie Pass area, and our route today will be determined by where we can get. I was here just a few days ago, and there was snow, but it was passable. Well, guess what? More snow hit overnight. So we're going to see what we can do here because I really want to see how well this system deals with tricky situations. The tires are a Dueler AT Revo 3 by Bridgestone. They are a size 265, 65, 18, which means you have a ton of sidewall, which is what you want when off-roading. Now, not only did they change the suspension out for off-road action, they also made the tires bigger than a standard Explorer, which gives you more ground clearance, which is important. However, these are not snow-rated all-terrains, which is a little bit of a miss in my book. So our real use today is heading up to a trailhead, which is covered in snow. We're going to pretend like we're going to go cross-country skiing or something like that. That would be a very common use case for a vehicle like this. Although we're already seeing quite a lot of snow here. I am noticing that this vehicle is stiffer than the standard Explorer, and that's because this actually comes with the Police Interceptor shocks. Yeah, insert your Blues Brothers joke here about cop shocks. That means that it actually rides a little bit stiffer, but it's also a little bit higher. So I'm really curious how that's going to translate into an off-road vehicle. Now, Police Interceptors are designed to be able to handle any kind of pursuit. So they are kind of a nice balanced setup, you know, a little stiff on the side roads, maybe a little softer on the hard stuff. I don't know. We'll see.
I find it very stiff back here.
It is pretty stiff, isn't it?
Yeah, every time you hit a bump, it sounds like you have no suspension. Or it sounds like you have like 22s on.
Well, luckily this is rolling on 18-inch wheels, and we have a big, chunky sidewall. I did bring the air compressor. They usually don't want us to air these tires down from the manufacturer, but you know what? I don't mind doing it on a vehicle like this with all terrains and enough sidewall. If we need to, we'll go there. So it feels quick, but how quick is it? Let's flip this around and find out. Now we're obviously on a loose, wet surface here, but I think that with the Torsen limited slip in the back, we should do just fine getting grip down. I'm going to set the drive mode to Sport, which should be the most extreme at putting power down. And 3, 2, 1, go. Whoa, that kicks in around 35, 4,000. And 60 at 6.85 seconds, which I think is more than good enough for a vehicle of this size. You know, there's often a question of whether or not the different drive modes truly transform a vehicle. And I think in this case, it really does, because it really makes that pedal way more responsive. Okay, let's go into the forest, and a plow has been by, and we have a little wall of ice. Oof. I don't know. Now this does have steel body panels on the underside, which is a good thing. But are we going to be able to get over this? Let's see if we can hear any grinding. Oof. Okay, let's step outside and take a look to see what that grinding noise is, because underside on the steel plates is one thing, but it kind of sounded more like it was on the body on the outside. So let's see what we got. Oh, yeah, that's big chunk of ice. So we don't want to be on that stuff, but luckily it is breakable. Okay, so we do have large chunks of ice, but at least they're soft. I mean, they're not something that we'll get high centered on, though if we hit them hard enough, obviously it could cause problems. So I'm basically going to just use a little velocity to get over this hump. Now, the wheel holds 8.7 inches. We'll see if that's going to be good enough. Frankly, I do not know. And here we go. Oh. Now I'm just in, actually I'm still in sport mode. Let's change to normal. Oh boy, this is grinding a lot. I don't know if this is a good idea. Let me go check out my clearance and see if this is a horrible idea. Okay, so how are we doing here? So we have the entire rear differential creating a trench down the middle. I'm a little concerned that if we get ice, I mean, basically this is too much. We're gonna have to try to get out of here and then head further up the mountain and find something a little bit more doable. I don't know if we can get out. So let's put it in reverse and find out. So I'm in normal mode and I'm just gonna floor it and see what we got. Yep, not much of anything. So I need to get a lot of wheel spin. So I'm gonna put it into deep snow and sand. Definitely deep snow, right? And let's see what we got. Floor it. Okay, let's drive forward. Let's go reverse. Oh man, we are stuck. Forward. Man, we got nothing. Okay, let's turn traction control completely off. Time to break out the MaxTrax, I think. Oh well, okay, so that didn't work. Okay, got MaxTrax under there. Let's see what we can do. Now I don't want to spin the wheels a lot on MaxTrax, so I'm actually going to put traction control on. Then I'm going to switch the drive mode to slippery. That'll minimize wheel spin. Okay, there we go. In progress. Oh, I think we are high centered pretty darn good. Yeah, high centering sucks. Clearance, man. You need clearance. Still in slippery mode. Oh, just don't want to grind on those things. Let's change drive mode back to normal. Man, it is cutting power. Turn off traction control, see if we can get more spin on this. No.
If you do get stuck on ice and snow, there's always a way out if you just dig enough. However, how much time do you really want to spend digging?
Two boards on the left, and we'll see if we can make any progress here. Now I'm in trail mode because I wanted to have the most aggressive wheel braking to shift power around the system. Nope. But instead let's do slippery. Stop. Back. That was a little shift. Promising. Shift. Reverse. Nope, not doing it.
Looks like it's time for more digging.
Trial and error. Trial and error. I'm just putting it back to normal. No, let's go all the way to deep snow. Okay. I'm getting no progress here. So I was thinking about it, and the fact that this has a torsion limited slip in the back means I should probably focus my board work there. Oh, I cut a finger. Because that'll give me the most grip on the two boards. So I'm in rock mode actually, because I want to limit slip as much as possible. It also kind of puts it in a crawling mode, which will be beneficial here. So let's give this a try. Four-wheel drive, temporarily disabled. With the four-wheel drive system not functioning, we're just going to be struggling too much with two-wheel drive. Hey, Jason, we got stuck. I need you to come up and rescue me. Okay, rescue coming. I will dig myself out while we're doing that. Oh, Jason, grab a shovel too. I forgot to grab a shovel. Now you will notice there's no recovery rings in the back of this Explorer. So what I have here is a D-ring that goes in the receiver. Now these are available on Amazon. I'll put a link in the description. Basically you just slide it on in. So there, now we have a way of pulling this out that's not going to rip out the undersides.
I'm not gonna pull down.
Okay, take up slack. Okay, parking brake is off. I'm in reverse. I'm going to ease on a little throttle, and then you do your thing. And I'm easing throttle. Ford Maverick to the rescue. Now let's go find something else to do with maybe a little bit less snow. Yeah, well that worked for the win. If I can get out these last 10 feet. What we needed to do was crawl onto the boards, and instead I just wanted to like get it done immediately, which is disappointing. But that stuff was really difficult. I mean, even one of the locals tried to go around us in his F-150 with four-wheel drive, and he got stuck immediately and had to shovel himself out. So, tricky situation, absolutely. So now we are going to head over the mountain passes and try to find some not quite so deep snow, but what I really want to see is how this all-wheel drive system responds in different conditions. For that, we're going to need a road that is covered in probably about that much snow. Let's head on in and see what we can find.
Naturally, we went straight to our test hill to see if the snow had melted enough to get into our test courses.
Need heavy machinery. Well, the test hill is still buried in snow, but there is another test we can do here. I'm really curious how much this rear end locks up under full throttle. Okay, here we go. I'm going to roll up here and I'm just going to floor it. And I want to see how this all-wheel drive system, specifically how that rear torsion diff deals with full throttle situations. So let's switch it up to deep snow and sand. This is the most aggressive with minimal traction control. So we should get a lot of wheel spin and we should see those two rear wheels lock up. And 3, 2, 1, go. Oh yeah, and power goes straight. Ha! So there was some concern that the cop shocks on this thing might be a little too stiff for rough surfaces, but as you can see here, it's doing fine.
Compacted snow like this is an ideal situation for the Ford Explorer Timberline. That rear torsion differential puts down power in a way that not only gives you confidence with every start, you can also manage very nice power slides time after time after time after time. This may not be the most capable midsize crossover, but it is possibly one of the most fun, priced for under 50 grand.
For Driving Sports TV, I'm Ryan Douthit. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, share videos. We make them for you, and we hope you enjoy them. Sorry we weren't able to, find a good road for testing this one today, but I think we still ended up with a lot of fun and learning quite a lot about how this Explorer's four-wheel drive system works. Or should we say all-wheel drive?